Danny Meyer this morning plans to take tipping.
In an effort to pay his workers more, he is eliminating tipping from restaurants. He joins us.
Whoa, is there some upheaval coming? Legendary restaurateur Danny Meyer announced tipping will be eliminated in restaurants on the way out.
If you know anything about the restaurant and hospitality business, you know the name Danny Meyer. New York City entrepreneur Danny Meyer literally wrote the book on hospitality. So you can imagine the debate he sparked with his decision to end tipping in favor of consistent, fair wages for all 1,800 of his employees, using a new approach he calls hospitality included, starting with his iconic restaurant, The Modern. Danny and I sat down at The Modern to hear more about how this whole change came about.
I didn't expect that this would be in newspapers and editorial columns as far away as Italy and Ireland and Great Britain and Germany. But I think this has struck a nerve for people because this question about tipping gets into questions of justice, politics, social norms, economics, obviously, class warfare. Gender and race.
Yeah.
And as you told me, the thing that makes me more inspired than anything is that if you do not have your head buried in the sand and you have noticed that there has been a widening gap between those who have a lot and those who don't have enough.
One of the clearest examples of this economic divide is the separate lower wage for tipped workers. Actually, the minimum wage for tipped workers finds its roots in slavery, as some of America's first tipped workers were recently freed slaves. The restaurant industry wanted the right to hire these former slaves and pay them nothing, forcing them to live off tips. Today, the majority of people left with that legacy of slavery are actually women working at casual restaurants like Denny's and Olive Garden, earning a tip minimum wage as little as $2.13 an hour.
Why do you think really you're among the very few that think this way? Why do you think most of the industry thinks profitability is all about squeezing the most that you can out of your workers?
I think that fear drives a lot of decisions that human beings make. And I just kind of grew tired of saying, well, that's just the way it is. That's the system.
Danny Meyer has long been a trailblazer for the industry, leading the way on the 2002 New York City smoking ban.
You know, we eliminated smoking voluntarily in 1990, a full 12 years before it became law in New York City. And I wasn't out there advocating for this to become law. I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do, and I thought it would be good for business. And I remember our entire industry was all up in arms, primarily because they said, if this were ever to become law, it will absolutely kill the restaurant and bar industry. Well, obviously, the opposite's been true.
That's right.
We've only gotten busier since the elimination of smoking.
I also wanted to hear firsthand from workers.
This huge change here at The Modern and with hospitality included. Tell us what you think about it. Tell us how you think it contributes or not to this idea of professionalism.
It's about making sure that everyone treats people who work in the restaurant industry like a respectable human being and like a professional in this environment.
I'm seeing a difference in progression for me as to look at my future of what I want to do and the next, what would it take for me to become management and how much steps on the ladder do I have left, you know? So it makes that visual picture, that conversation that you have with your boss, not just a conversation that leaves you with a question mark. It leaves you at, you're here, you want to get here, this is how you do it.
With Governor Cuomo talking about $15 for all, you would support $15 for all workers, including tipped workers, including servers in New York State.
I would say that whatever a legislature decides should be the minimum wage should be the minimum wage for everybody. It shouldn't be for hairdressers, but not for servers, for fast food workers, but not for lawyers. Whatever it is what it should be for everybody.
But here's the truth. Not all restaurants are like The Modern, with employers who will ensure that workers earn in wages everything they would have earned in tips. What we need is policy that would require all employers to pay one fair wage of $15 an hour and let tips be on top of that. So we're at a fork in the road. Do we choose business as usual, or do we make changes that would improve the lives of millions of American workers?